Welcome to a special edition of Aaron Reviews. I'm sitting here with my good friend Jeremy Labens. He's the founder of the Daily Rotation. Good friend, known him since high school, best man at my wedding. Jeremy, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, now we're going to talk some Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker today. Now this is a spoiler warning. This is a spoiler-filled video. So if you haven't seen Rise of Skywalker yet, we got both our reviews for it down in the description. Go check those out. Or if you don't care about spoilers, welcome. So, Jeremy, we both saw and reviewed Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker.
Yes, sir.
And what'd you think of it?
On the whole, I thought it was all right. It wasn't anywhere near as bad as The Last Jedi, but it definitely wasn't as great as The Force Awakens. I think it kind of fell right in the middle, and then I guess comparing it to the other Star Wars movies, again, it kind of fell C-average. What about you?
Well, for me, I love The Force Awakens.
I do too.
Some people did like The Last Jedi. I'm not one of them. I
Definitely
hated
not.
that movie. And I feel the same way. It landed kind of right in the middle between the two. Not a dumpster fire like The Last Jedi. Not a masterpiece like The Force Awakens.
No.
It lands in the middle for me. But let's get into the movie itself. I think we should start off with Palpatine. It was the big reveal that everyone thought was going to be a spoiler. And then you actually watch the movie and you find out that it's in the opening crawl.
Yeah, it's in the first 2 minutes of the movie. His voice has been heard among the galaxy.
It's established that he's going to be a big part of this movie.
He's back and better than ever.
He's back. Let's put it that way.
Fair enough.
But what did you think about bringing back Palpatine?
I liked the idea of bringing back Palpatine. He's an iconic character to the Star Wars franchise. I've always liked him as part of the series. But I still just had this feeling in my gut that it was just lazy and it was safe. They brought him back for the sake of nostalgia and convenience for the story, especially when it comes to tying him to Rey.
Okay, I mean, I think that's all fair. I love Palpatine.
You just love the hood and the laugh.
I do. I mean,
Lightning.
That's who his character is, though. I mean, his character is just pure evil.
Yep, he's the best Sith.
And
or the worst.
I love that. I love that about him. I love seeing Palpatine, obviously, in Return of the Jedi, and he's also great in Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
You know, any other instances where he's in, like, you know, Episode 1 and 2, he's not Darth Sidious.
No, he's just Senator Palpatine.
You know? And you get to see Darth Sidious in Episode 3 and Episode 6, and you get a lot of him in this movie as well, and I enjoy it, you know. I think it's fun, but I do agree with you that shoehorning him into this movie, for the most part, doesn't work. It, especially the part where they talk about he was pulling all the strings, he was behind Snoke and everything the whole time. It
was very convenient.
It was very convenient. That became very obvious, you know. That part I just can't... When movies do things like that, I kind of wonder what they were thinking in the writer's room.
And I think that was the point.
They that was a good idea.
They're like, we have no ideas. Let's just tie it all back to him.
So, I didn't appreciate that side of him, but the fact that he's back...
His presence is always needed in a Star Wars movie.
Right. The fact that he's back as Darth Sidious, like he wasn't, again, in 3 and 6, that part really paid off for me. So, yeah. But Rey's lineage, you said you weren't all that crazy about.
I thought that the way they, again, conveniently tied Rey's lineage to Palpatine just felt like the most safe and easiest way out. They're obviously throwing around that she could have been a Skywalker related to Obi-Wan or several other characters.
That was the big thought, is that she would be related to Obi-Wan.
And that would have made sense, and that would have been better, in my opinion, because going to Palpatine, you're going to the strongest, evilest Sith, and so now she just instantly has all this power and all this conflict that never really gets fleshed out.
But the only reason they couldn't say you're related to Obi-Wan is because they would have said that in The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
They would say, hey, yo, you're related to Obi-Wan.
Yeah, why would we keep that secret? So it's like
you understand why they keep the Palpatines. Here's my thing with it. I like the idea. I really do. I think that it opens up a lot of avenues to go with that as far as, there's a dark side to Rey.
Very dark side.
But they don't ever go for it in this movie. They never even show the slightest bit of conflict in Rey with this. The little dark Rey on the Death Star scene.
The Swiss Army knife lightsaber.
The 2-second Swiss Army knife lightsaber scene.
It was cool,
but that was the only even slight attempt at going for it. It just didn't pay off for me. I think if they had established she was related to Palpatine in The Last Jedi, that could have been really cool.
They could have had time
That
to
could have
flesh it
been
out.
interesting. But they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
They shoehorned it into the last movie here, and I don't think they really went anywhere with it. I mean, again, I like the idea, not crazy about the execution.
Very poor execution.
But let's talk J.J. Abrams now. Let's transition into that.
Speaking of execution.
What did you think about J.J. Abrams' execution? Because, again, we both thought he did wonders with The Force Awakens. How does he do in this movie for you?
I think for the most part, he pieces everything together to his best ability. Again, we were talking about how he's ending a trilogy, ending a saga, and retconning The Last Jedi. So that's not an easy task. And, any other filmmaker could have probably dropped the ball even harder. So on the whole, J.J. Abrams did a pretty decent job wrapping things up. Again, he didn't reach the heights of The Force Awakens, but he really had the deck stacked against him. So that would be unfair to expect that.
I love how you said he brought it back in the best way he could. Because when you were saying that, you're like, oh, are you just really going to say he brought it back in the best way imaginable? Because that's just simply not true.
No, the best way that he could and the best way that
he could.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like I said in my spoiler-free review, this movie feels very crowded and lacks a lot of focus. But it's because it's trying to do all those things. It's trying to close up a 9-movie saga. It's trying to close a trilogy. It's trying to kind of go back and fix a lot of the Rian Johnsonisms of The Last Jedi.
Yep.
And bring that all full circle in 2 hours.
Yep.
That's a lot on one's plate.
That's a big task.
So I agree with you in saying that, you know what? That was a bad hand that he was dealt. He did the best he could with it. Mm-hmm. And it turned out to be a good movie. Look,
yeah, not bad.
I'm going to rewatch this movie.
I will too.
I'm going to own it on Blu-ray. I'm going to rewatch it.
Same.
The only time I ever rewatch The Last Jedi is when I have to.
When you're ranking?
Like when I'm doing a ranking video or
link
something
down below.
Like that. Sure, we'll put a link down below. Maybe we'll put it up here.
Or over there.
It's going over there.
Fine.
Anyway, but no, I think he did a good job with what he had. Again, he was dealt a bad card, but he made it work.
He did. And oddly enough, there were some really good characters and some really bad characters, too, that he worked with. I thought the way he handled the core characters, Poe, Finn, Rey, Kylo, worked pretty decently. Like you were mentioning that this was the first time they were actually really together, and didn't you think that worked pretty well for them?
I really think it did. I mean, they have a really good dynamic. I mean, it was established in The Force Awakens that Finn and Poe...
Best friends!
Oh.
Like me and Aaron.
They're the best. I mean, I loved them in that movie. It was disappointing to have them split up in the next movie.
Everybody was split up in the next movie, and it was just like, why? You have this great dynamic, this great team. Let's just move them all to complete opposite sides of the room and not utilize these advantages.
Every time when I watch the whole 3 times I've watched it, get to the end of The Last Jedi and see Rey meeting Poe, and they introduce themselves to each other, and I was like, oh yeah, y'all haven't met till now.
Yep.
So, but the fact that they're all together, Finn and Poe being back together is where we want them.
Music to my ears.
So, I really enjoyed that in this movie. And then adding Rey into the mix also works really well. Their dynamic is just...
the best part about the movie. The best part about the trilogy.
It really is. I mean, they work so well together. It makes you so upset to find out that this is the only movie of the trilogy that actually has all 3 of them together.
Yep.
So, but yeah, they definitely did great. Kylo Ren
had his full arc in all 3 of the movies, which is awesome. Unfortunately, I didn't get that pleasure.
But Kylo Ren in this movie is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I liked him in The Force Awakens. Even though I'm not a Last Jedi fan, I liked him in that movie.
He was interesting because of his conflict.
There was conflict, but there was very surface level conflict in The Last Jedi.
It was getting there.
This movie really dives into the nitty gritty of his conflict. And that's one of the many reasons why Kylo Ren is great in this movie.
We actually get the Kylo Ren resolution from Kylo to Ben, which was awesome. That payoff, including Han, including everything before it, and just seeing him on the light side again.
Yeah, and when he's on the light side, I kind of wish we had a little bit more of that, too.
I know.
I said in my spoiler-free review that the Sith versus Jedi conflict at the end was kind of lame and underwhelming. Mm-hmm. There was nothing all that great there.
But Kylo Ren.
But when Kylo Ren just comes charging into that room, I was holding back applause at that point.
I was eating popcorn like, oh, this is fun.
It was, though. I mean, it was... he was just great throughout this entire movie. He is the best part of this movie, arguably the best part of this trilogy.
I would agree.
And yeah, I think he does great. But let's talk about some other characters in this movie. First off, this movie introduces a few new characters. Jeremy, what do you think of the new characters?
To be honest, I didn't like any of them. I felt like a lot of the new characters were just introduced to replace a previous character or to just kind of be background noise so that the plot could just conveniently roll over them. We were talking about General Hux and how not a lot of people like him but me. But this movie particularly introduces General Pride, who essentially is just there to kill General Hux and stand there and do the exact same things that he was doing in the two previous movies, which didn't really have any sort of payoff. Because why did you have to kill off General Hux? Why did we have to reveal that he was actually working for the light side?
Because, Jeremy, no one besides you likes General Hux. So they just found it, hey, let's just kill him off and we'll introduce this new guy. We won't do anything with this new guy.
But he'll be there.
But he's there. And this movie did that with a lot of characters, introducing new characters for the sake of introducing new characters.
And I hate that they do it by giving them a past but not showing us the past. So we were talking about how Poe has this somewhat love interest named Zori, who we don't really know why she's in the movie. They have some sort of history that seems kind of lengthy. But again, we don't ever get that explained, and then she doesn't really do much.
There's no payoff with it.
Yeah. So it's like, why give us a character that's, first of all, new, but then also has some sort of history with the previous character, but not telling us what that history is or showing us why they're important to that person?
The new sequel Star Wars trilogy doesn't know what to do with love interests at all. It really doesn't.
Have one?
It like pokes at so many ideas of like love interests with these characters and does nothing with them.
Mm-hmm.
There was even kind of an idea that like, oh, hey, Rey and Ben, they're going to have some kind of a thing. Nah. Or even Finn and Rey are going to have some kind of thing. Nope, they don't do that. You know, they shoehorn in this, you know, the Zori at the end to be Poe's love interest. And they don't do anything with her either. And they also introduced this Jana or Jana, I can't remember how to pronounce her name. But she was put in almost to be kind of like a love interest with Finn.
That's what you think.
And she has a lot in common with him as being previous stormtroopers, you know, turned good. And I thought that was interesting. Ooh, there's more Finns out there. I like that. That's a good idea. Let's do that. And then she disappears for 45 minutes and then she's back.
Conveniently.
Only because Finn needs someone to run around with in the final action sequence of this movie. Because otherwise it'd just be him.
Yep.
So, no addition of a new character in this movie did anything for me. It just doesn't pay off. Again, we got Kylo Ren is awesome. We've got the Poe, Rey, and Finn dynamic. That's all perfect. I think all the actors had great chemistry with each other. But I got to talk about a character that I loved seeing back, and that was Lando. Lando was a side character in the original trilogy. He was good, but there was really he was good. He was a fun character, but there wasn't all that much of him. This movie, they bring him back, and it's just classic Lando, and I just loved getting that back. But he's not just he's still, you know, running Cloud City and stuff like that. He's retired. No. He's settled down.
Yep, he has a history.
But he's still him. He's still charismatic. He's still a charmer. And I love that because I was never crazy about when they brought back Luke. He was kind of mopey and then given up. That's just not the Luke I know, you know. They brought back Han. He was still Han Solo, but he was kind of almost a high school quarterback trying to relive his glory days.
Still has the jacket.
And, you know, Leia's back, but
what did she ever really do?
She didn't do anything. She's all 3 movies. She's in them, but she's not really in them. She's barely in the first one. She's in a coma and most of the second one, and she's in this movie, but a lot of it is old footage too. Which, I mean, yes, unfortunately Carrie Fisher passed away, but you know they just reuse that old stuff, and it's craftily edited, but
it doesn't really add much substance.
It really doesn't. You know, I mean, if you want the best of Leia, you're not going to find it in this new trilogy. You're going to find it in the original trilogy for sure. I think all in all, this movie did okay. I think it has a fair amount of issues, but it's far more watchable to me than The Last Jedi.
At least J.J. Abrams tried to piece the puzzle back together.
Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to keep yourself updated on future content. And my buddy Jeremy, what's a good way for people to get in touch with your content?
You can always check me out at www.thedailyrotation.com or hit me up at Twitter at minimejir05.
I find the best way when I find your content is you either send it to me or...
I'll text it to you.
Yeah. Or you... I find a lot on your Facebook page, actually.
Oh.
So.
Well, thank you. Check me out on Facebook.
Yeah, check him out on Facebook. He's got a great page. He always keeps you guys updated with the latest in movies. And until then, we'll hopefully be doing this again.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for being on this time, and we'll see you next time.
Party City.